Welcome dear viewers. Today we have January the 3rd, 2017. The question is, can we know where we are in the timeline of history? Jesus gives us the example in Matthew 24 of the fig tree, where we can see how the fig tree develops, and when the branches are getting tender and the leaves are blossoming, then we can see summer's near. Then he goes on to say that when we see all these things happening, what he's talking about, then we should know that the summer is right around the corner, right at the gate. So we can know the season. We can discern this particular season he's talking about. We should know, but we don't know the day and the hour. That's the difference. The day and the hour of the end, well, what the Bible talks about the end, when he's coming. And so I asked the Lord, what is up for 2017? Where are we in the timeline? And I saw shaking going on. I saw a global shaking. I saw a shaking of the nation of Canada as a whole. I saw shaking of other nations. And the Bible talks about another shaking. That in Hebrews chapter 12, it talks about the shaking around the world, shaking of things that are seen, so that the invisible, the eternal, will come forth. So we got to be prepared for this kind of shaking. And the question is, what can we do? And when I asked the Lord about it, I saw many people should have a plan B. They go on their course, they have a plan A, but they should have a plan B. So in case things are approaching, and many things will be approaching, that at the proper time when the Lord prompts them, they can go to this place of refuge where there is storage, where there are resources available, where preparations have been made. Secondly, I've seen old communication equipment, like an old cell phone, an old battery for the cell phone, and that stood for communication with God, where people in the time of need want to go back to a communication with God which they once had or they heard about. But then the danger is, oh, the cell phone doesn't work anymore, the battery is dead. And we should have a well-established communication channel with God. Everybody's invited to be a child of God. Everybody's invited to be born again, to be forgiven, to have Jesus in his or her heart, be filled with the Holy Spirit. And then as children of God, as sheep of God, and him being the shepherd, we have the privilege of hearing his voice. Jesus says, my sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me. So once we hear his voice and it's well established in good times as well as in hard times, then it's easier for us to be prepared and to get the warning, get the leading, to be led out of difficult times. So this should be that we have this well-established communication channel. Also, concerning Germany, I've seen several visions. One was that many people put their hope in Chancellor Angela Merkel not being re-elected, so that the situation goes for the better. Well, hoping for that political solution is a false hope. What I've seen was that people should put their hope in the lordship of Jesus, in his reign, where parts of Germany, hopefully the whole nation, but sections of Germany vote Jesus in, where they let him rule, where they cry out to the Lord in a solemn assembly and seek him. I didn't see all the details, but I saw that making him Lord would make the difference. It means the spiritual atmosphere changes, and when this whole area changes, will be transformed, then it makes a vast difference. When we want to look at how Jesus exercised authority here on earth, a little bit of his lordship, we can look at John chapter 2 verse 14, when he cleansed the temple. Also, I've seen that seeds of civil war had been placed all over the nation of Germany. And my question was, what can we do against it? And I saw it would be truth truth in combination with the truth of the gospel. That was in correlation, sort of blended in. Now, how can this work practically? For example, there are many cases now in Germany where people present different identities in order to get the most money out of the state system. So there was one case, someone presented himself with 12 different identities in different places to get a lot of money. And the reaction of the state was, well, it's very difficult to go against these people, prosecute them, because in order for someone to be prosecuted in Germany, you need to have some place of permanent residency, and they're moving all the time. And secondly, you have to know his identity. And with so many identities, it's difficult. Well, first of all, we need a government that has the will to establish justice in the first place. And so making Jesus Lord helps a lot. And secondly, we can effectively operate in the gifts of the Spirit. And one of the gifts that is available, if we ask for, or we should ask for, is the word of knowledge. I mean, we can all hear God as children of God. It's a privilege. Everybody's invited to become a child of God, so we can take these steps to hear God for ourselves, and then it's just another step to hear it for someone else, and that's a gift. And in 1 Corinthians, it talks about pursue love and earnestly desire the spiritual gifts, especially that you might prophesy. That's in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 1. And later on, it describes in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 24 to 25, I just want to share with you, but if all prophesy and an unbeliever or outsider enters, he is convicted by all, he is called to account by all, the secrets of his heart are disclosed, and so, falling on his face, he will worship God and declare that God is really among you. And I had the privilege prophesying over many people. I remember there was this Romanian lady that brought another Romanian lady to one of the assemblies where I ministered. And then I prayed for the lady that was brought in. I never met her before in my life. And I saw her being in prison. Jesus wanted to get her out. And I saw details of her life which were very sinful. Things she committed. And I mentioned it all. And then she started crying. And the other lady who brought her said, well, it's all true. And right on the spot, she gave her life to Jesus, got filled with the Holy Spirit. She got baptized. Now 1 year later, she's a missionary going around Germany, loving Jesus, being filled with the Holy Spirit, prophesying, serving people, a total change. She completely left her old lifestyle. It's a new person. Someone is really, truly born again and walking with Jesus. And I also had the privilege of meeting an Iranian family where they came to Europe as make-believe refugees. Once they met Jesus, the husband and the wife told the government it's all fake, they're not persecuted. Here in Europe they found, or in this case was Austria, they found, this is their wording, the true God, and now they can no longer live with a lie, so they told everything the government. They sent away their lawyer because the lawyer was advising not to do so. They said, no, we don't go with a lawyer, we go with the truth. And so right now they follow Jesus and they are a great benefit both in Iran and here in Europe. And when people get in touch with God and God gets a hold of them because they surrender their life and they can be cleansed, they can live out their calling, and God can send them to the respective place where they're most needed. And then out of chaos emerges the divine order, not the New World Order. And so we have this awesome privilege to seek the Lord, to operate in these gifts. And I've been able to prophesy over a lot of people and mention great details of their lives. So God doesn't leave us with the truth, with the facts of our misery. He wants to get us out. And if we present this, people are willing, they're coming. If we look at the woman at the well in John chapter 4, we see that Jesus gave a word of knowledge to that woman who lived a sinful life with so many men, and then she lived together with someone who wasn't even her husband. And then she went back and told the others what Jesus had told her everything, and they wanted to meet Jesus. And he gave her hope that he would provide her with water where she would never thirst again. And so it's the truth part plus the hope part, and we can be messengers of this hope. So here in this scene, the woman asked Jesus for water, natural water, but he offered living water where she would never thirst again. So when all these people come, out of whatever motivation, and they ask for a lot of things, they ask for help financially in any form, we are supposed to give them the help which they actually need, what God has for them, what they really need, not necessarily what they're asking for. And so we shall be equipped, full of the Spirit, ready to exercise the gifts of the Spirit in order to serve these people effectively, because that really brings them to the point of light where they come into the will of God, into His divine order, into His loving arms. And this is a wonderful ministry, and it's very effective, I'm telling you. So let us be filled with the Holy Spirit and train and prepare to operate in all that God has for us, all the gifts He has given us. And then hear what He commissions us to do. And then go ahead and fulfill these tasks without wavering. Let 2017 be a year of completion of what God is telling us to do for this year. Thank you for listening.